This is the Fantasy Huddle. I'm Randy Shaver along with Kevin Gorg. Thanks for coming along with us today. This show is presented by Aquarius Home Services. We're in the Aquarius Home Services studio. 10K Construction, Minnesota Masonic Charities, and Lexus of Maplewood and Wayzata. All right, Gorgie, week 8 in the books. Some significant injuries, or at least one to talk about, but also some big players may be coming back here for week 9. And I think those are worth the discussions, first of all. But your boy Scadaboo, unfortunately, dislocated ankle. It was ugly. I think that's another reason why networks should not show injuries. But that's a devastating injury for the Giants, who'd already lost Malik Neighbors for the season.
Yeah, what a shame. And for all of us in fantasy football, between Neighbors and Scadaboo, such impactful players and such fun players to watch. So, yeah, multiple shares for me of Scadaboo, a couple in Guillotine. I'm scrambling now to try to figure out a replacement for him. Tyrone Tracy's the next man up, but he's not nearly the football player Scadaboo is. And you mentioned players coming back, something we all have to be aware of in fantasy football. We've seen it with Rashee Rice in Kansas City. The go-to guys, the top-level guys, can make such a difference right away. And so keep an eye on a player like Nico Collins, who last week missed with a concussion, but completely different dynamic in that Texans offense if he comes back.
And Puka Nacua is scheduled to come back. The coach says he'll practice this week. And Brock Bowers is also scheduled to come back for Vegas. Both those teams are coming off the bye week, and I think they play each other, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe not. Maybe the Raiders play the Jags. But anyway, those players are coming back this week. How about pickups? Your guy, Troy Franklin for Denver. How about this young guy? 2 weeks now, 18 targets, 3 touchdowns. Wow. If he's still out there on your waiver wire, you should be jumping all over that.
Absolutely. Now, with Cortland Sutton being the go-to guy in Denver, teams are starting to really work on shading towards layering 1 or 2 players, sometimes 3, to Cortland Sutton's side of the field, and Franklin plays opposite of him, so he's reaping the benefits. Think of Jordan Addison and what he is with the Vikings. Now, again, he's not the player Justin Jefferson is, but Jefferson gets doubled, sometimes tripled, and Addison has that one-on-one coverage, and you're seeing his target share every week be consistently between 8 and 12 targets. Franklin can be the same type of player, Randy, and he's clearly got some chemistry with Bo Nix. That offense is clicking, and now on the flip side with the defense, their top cover guy, Surtain, who's as good as it gets in the league, going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So now I think that even pushes Denver's offense a little bit more to have to score points. So if he's available, he is a great pickup.
And of course, the Vikings, and we'll talk about this game because Kevin's got this game to analyze, but McCarthy is back this week against the Detroit Lions. They don't have a choice, man. I mean, Carson Wentz is done for the season. What a brutal display. Unfortunately, the way that he got just completely clobbered over the weekend. And right now it is McCarthy and it's the young Max Brosmer as the quarterbacks for this Viking team. So yes, a lot to talk about today. So let's get started. First of all, bye weeks this week. Cleveland is off. The Jets, who finally won a football game in a great fashion, are off this week. The Eagles and Tampa Bay. So 4 teams are on the bye. We'll start with the Vikings noon game. It is the Vikings at Detroit, and Kevin's got this game.
Detroit is a 9.5-point favorite, Randy. 48 the total points. So certainly they are expecting offense to be prevalent in this football game, and certainly Detroit's going to be tough to beat. If you own Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison or any Vikings in fantasy, I think with J.J. McCarthy and the schedule that's ahead, you've got to temper some of your expectations a little bit. I think it's going to be short, quick passes. They're going to try to simplify the offense as best they can and not throw this guy to the wolves, especially when you consider how loud this building can be in Detroit at Ford Field. So J.J. McCarthy, if you're starting him, you're in desperation mode. I love the kid. I think the player, when he's healthy, is going to be fine long-term. But in fantasy, week by week, not something you're going to look towards unless you're in really dire trouble. Backfield split right now between Mason and Jones. I don't love either one. If you have to use them, hope for a touchdown, but really not something I'm going to look for in daily at all. Jefferson and Addison are must starts every week. But again, with J.J. McCarthy and Detroit at home with that noise and the defense, just temper your expectations a little bit. Hawkinson for me is a coin flip. I know he's a talented guy, not really producing at a high level for fantasy. So yeah, you can use him, but again, don't expect too much. On the Detroit side, it's easy. They've got a core group of players that you're not even going to think about. Goff at quarterback, Gibbs at running back, stars. Montgomery is startable. I think he gets a touchdown this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown is an absolute stud. And I like Laporta in a bounce back. They didn't go to Laporta much last time. I think Laporta has a big game this week against Minnesota. I got Detroit 34, the Vikings 17. So I think they're going to be points. And I think you start all your Lions and you pick and choose your spot on the side of Minnesota.
All right, sounds good. Let's go to the Thursday night before we get back. It's Baltimore at Miami. The number is 49.5. The Ravens are a 7.5 point favorite right now. They should be getting Lamar Jackson back. At least that's what the game plan calls for. Must win for the Ravens against the Bears. So it puts them at 3-5, and it gets them kind of back in the conversation a little bit. And if they can stay healthy moving forward, they might be able to compete in what's an average AFC North division. I like Baltimore in this game, obviously. Miami is, yes, they did win against Atlanta. I for the life of me, I cannot figure out the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons had the best rushing offense in the league, facing the worst rush defense in the league. You and I were all over Bijan Robinson, and it just turned out to be a dud. It just was not good. 40-some yards rushing. Baltimore faces them this time. Derrick Henry, I think, could have a pretty good game. He's probably the one Raven that I feel the most comfortable with right now, because I think Miami's in for a letdown. I think that one game against Atlanta with their backs to the wall to save McDaniel's job for a week, I think that disappears this week. I think Baltimore's on a mission, and I really like the Ravens this week. I would play Lamar if I knew Lamar was completely healthy. Zay Flowers is starting. He got 40% of the target share last week. I mean, that's the combination. But as of right now, as I monitor things, I think Derrick Henry is the one play for me. On the Miami side, 2 through 4 touchdown passes. It was the Falcons. And you could argue the Ravens' pass defense has not been any better than that this year. However, I think there's a lot more on the Baltimore side to play for. Jalen Waddle's averaging about 15 fantasy points a game without Tyreek Hill. You can certainly play him. I think it's an interesting stack if you look at the main slate of the quarterbacks and receivers that are out there, I don't think many people are even thinking about playing Tua with Waddle this week. HN for sure. He just volume. And that's what you look for in fantasy football is volume. So all those pieces are playable, but I think when you look at the rest of the games on the slate, they don't stand out as much to me, even though the number's 49.5. So having said that, to me, the best player, the one player that I'm thinking about the most here is Derrick Henry getting himself back on track against a bad Miami rush defense. All right, let's move on. Back to noon, Chicago, Cincinnati. This game's a noon start on Sunday.
Yeah, the highest over-under of the week at 53.5. Chicago, a small 2.5 point favorite. And I got to tell you, Cincinnati, it felt like their season was on the line last week. And when you lose to the Jets at home, that felt like the final nail in the coffin in terms of making the playoffs. So keep that in mind. I think there are going to be points aplenty in this game. And I'll start with Chicago, when I'm playing daily fantasy, I am going to hook up Caleb Williams with Odunze one more time. It worked way back in like week 2 or week 3. I think this is the perfect spot to come back to the Caleb Odunze combo platter. I love Swift in the backfield. He looks fantastic right now, gaining momentum as the season goes on with that running game. DJ Moore, to me, is startable because he plays a lot of times out of the slot since he struggles in that area. And if you're desperate and need a tight end with some bye week and injury issues, Colston Loveland is a dart throw, but certainly someone to consider. I like the Bears in this spot a lot.
Yes.
Flacco has been a difference maker in fantasy, and so he's helped everybody, including my guy Chase Brown. You're going to start Flacco. He's putting up multiple touchdowns every single week. Chase Brown, his best and most productive week of the year with 2 touchdowns last week. That's fantastic. The dogs are excited because they know I've been waiting, and now they're barking for Chase Brown. How about P. Ryan, Randy? Now, this is an interesting one. A secondary back that got 9 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. Again, not going to start him, but if you're looking for a sneaky guy.
I look at him like Algier, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can pick the right week where they go off, it's hard to do.
Fair enough. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, both must starts. They should have good games. And if you're desperate, Noah Fant, a tight end that you can use, but not somebody I love. I've got the Bears 34 and the Bengals 30 and a point bonanza.
This is the reason why I'm not as big on the Baltimore-Miami game, because there's other great matchups like this where the number is big and the players involved are just better fantasy players. So you're right. This game is loaded with them, that Chicago-Cincy game. All right, Carolina, Green Bay. It's a noon start. The number is only 42.5. The Packers are an 11.5 to 12-point favorite. On the Panthers side, Ted McMillan's seeing about 43% target share, as he should. He saw that against Buffalo. Their passing game is just funneling it to him. I think there's just really nobody on the Panthers side. Green Bay's, maybe if the Panthers were playing at home, I would think about playing a Carolina player, but not at Green Bay and not the way the Packers are playing right now. And they've got a lot of things going in the right direction in Green Bay. So I'm going to stay away from the Carolina side. I mean, they're not Vegas is not expecting them to score a lot of points. On the other side, it's easy. Josh Jacobs, he's going to score again. He just is. The Carolina rush defense is not very good. They set up Jacobs for success, it seems like, every week. Jordan Love and Tucker Kraft, I think, are the 2 guys that you can put together. Christian Watson, now that he's back, kind of throws a wrench into some of those receivers a little bit. I don't think you'll see Dobbs as prominent. Maybe takes away from Golden a little bit, but also keep in mind, Watson gets hurt all the time. So he could easily get hurt in this next game. So for me, it's pretty easy. It's a funnel offense for the Green Bay Packers. It's Josh Jacobs, number 1. You could play Jordan Love and play Tucker Kraft. Maybe we're a week too late on the Tucker Kraft, but I think Tucker Kraft stacking with Love makes the most sense. Vegas thinks this is going to be like a 26 to 27 to 14 kind of game. And if that's the case, I like the Green Bay side, not as much as what Kevin talked about in the Cincy Chicago side, but I think the Green Bay is the play this week. The Chargers are at Tennessee. It's a noon start. Kevin's got that.
I'm not sure they'll need it, but extra rest for the Chargers because they played on Thursday Night Football and throttled Minnesota. They're a 9.5-point road favorite. Over-under is 43.5. This is not a real complicated game. I worry a little bit about game script if they get ahead big. Yep. Their quarterback, Herbert is fantastic, but I don't know how much he's going to be asked to throw the ball in the second half. You're going to start him. He's a good player. But I'm much more focused in my daily fantasy on Kamani Vidal, their running back, who just continues to impress. He was awesome against Minnesota. I would definitely look to use him naked. Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, both mainstays as receivers. And you saw the coming out party against the Vikings. We've been talking about this guy since training camp. Oronde Gadsden is a freak. He's a physical specimen. He shouldn't be available, but if you can trade for him, if you can use him in daily, he is going to be a red zone monster for this team. I love Gadsden again this week against a terrible Tennessee defense. The question mark is Quinston Johnston. He's banged up. I don't know if we're going to force him back out there knowing that they don't need all hands on deck to win this game. I don't know what you do with Tennessee. There's nobody I'm looking to use in daily. Kent Ward, you're not going to want to start him. The backfield is split. Tyjae Spears got the touchdown last week, but they're both carrying it 9, 10, 11 times. Nothing to help anybody in season-long fantasy. the one guy, there's one guy on this roster, and I pronounce it like DK is what I heard during the broadcast, but a wide receiver, Chamari DK, 7 for 93 last week. They're always behind in the football game, and he's kind of evolved into their go-to guy. He's the one guy, if you're going to use a Titan, maybe in desperation mode. I've got the Chargers 28, Tennessee 13. Load up your Chargers and avoid your Titans.
Also like the Charger defense this week. Defense to play. All right. Atlanta, New England. It's a noon start on Sunday. The number's 45.5. The Patriots are 5.5 point favorites. To me, this number feels too high just because of how poorly Atlanta played last week. And New England's defense is better than Miami's. So if you take that into account and the fact that Atlanta's on the road, I could see this game getting out of hand early and Atlanta not doing much offensively. I think the Pats are a much bigger favorite than just 6 points, at least in my book. The Penix situation, you have to check it, and Kevin will have an update on Friday. Not really quite sure how that's going to shake, but if Cousins has to play, good Lord,
yuck.
Just stay away. So I've got Bijan on my rosters, I got to play him just because it's
for
Bijan.
Sure.
You can't outthink yourself. Play your best players. So I will. But other than that, there's just nobody there for Atlanta that I want to play, even though the number is 45.5. Drake May got to play. Honestly, he's
top 5 quarterback in the league. Period.
He's probably the biggest surprise in the NFL in my book so far this year. I love him against the Falcons. I picked up Butte in a couple of different leagues. I'm playing the guy. Just play him. Hunter Henry, you can play. Diggs, you can play. You can stack more than one receiver with Drake May. The danger, I guess, is if they get up big that they won't throw the ball. I don't really like their running game at all, so I'll kind of stay away from that. But I could see playing Drake May even naked in this game just because I think he'll get 2 or 3 before they slow things down. I love the Patriots defense this week against Atlanta. I don't think it's going to be a close game. So for me, it's New England, and that's really it for fantasy this week. Next game is San Francisco at the Giants. Yep, sorry. Noon start, and Kevin's got that one.
San Fran, a small 2.5 point favorite in the betting market. 48.5 is a pretty high number.
That's a high number.
I was surprised to see 48.5 there. If I'm betting the game, I'm betting this one stays under the total. Got to pay attention to the Friday update on the injury front, whether it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones. Mac Jones has been pretty solid in his absence. McCaffrey comes off a complete dud. I would expect McCaffrey to have a big bounce back. 8 carries, 25 yards. Only 3 catches for 43. For McCaffrey, that's about as low as it gets. I'm expecting a big bounce back against the Giants defense that's fine. It's good, but not stopping this guy. He's going to have a big day, I think, receiving specifically. The receiving game is a mess. Outside of George Kittle, who's a must-start at tight end, scored a touchdown on National Tight End Day on Sunday. But Jennings, Bourne, Pearsall, they're all banged up. They're all maybe going to play, so you really got to pay attention to the weekend. If you can avoid them, I think McCaffrey and Kittle, along with the quarterback, if you're going to do any stacks, is the direction you want to go. I think San Fran wins this football game. We mentioned the Scadaboo injury. It's devastating to this team, both physically with his skills, but emotionally because he's become such a catapult in that locker room. Jackson Dart, you can start him. He's going to run for some, especially with Scadaboo out. I think he's a decent start in chase mode. I mentioned Tyrone Tracy kind of fills in at the running back position. We got to see him in the opening couple weeks of the season. He wasn't very good. I mean, he's okay. He's middle of the road. He's going to get the lion's share of the workload, but I don't know if that's going to be anything great. You can start him, but don't be too excited. And again, the receiving game, even though Jackson Dart's a start, Wan'Dale Robinson's kind of hit or miss. Slayton's hit or miss. Theo Johnson, the tight end, hit or miss. None of these guys are players in season long you're going to be excited to have, but in desperation mode, you can throw a dart with any of those 3. No pun intended. I've got San Francisco 24 and the Giants 19. I like the under.
I just don't see how this number gets to 48.
No,
I just don't see it. Even with Scadaboo playing, I'm not quite sure I see the number getting to 48.
I agree.
Okay. Moving on. Indianapolis, Pittsburgh. It's a noon game on Sunday. The number's high, 48.5. Indy, a slight favorite at 2 to 3 points. Jonathan Taylor on the Colts side, my goodness, just play the guy. I mean, that's just like the biggest no-brainer in the world right now in the NFL. There's not a defense that can match up against him. He's just running so well. Don't you find it crazy, Kevin, that the Colts give up two of their starting offensive linemen? The Vikings signed those two.
I know.
And their line is just as good, if not better, after they let those two guys leave. It's crazy to me. But
no one
Colts
saw this coming, Randy.
Yeah,
honest to God. Go back to preseason. Taylor was not even in the top 10 in all the experts across the land as far as their best running back, and he's number one, and it's not close.
And I think what helps him is that Daniel Jones is having such a great year, and he is a threat to run the ball. And Tyler Warren, I think that combination certainly gives Taylor they can't stack the box against the Colts. They've got to respect the pass, and that's been helping him quite a bit. But I'm just so impressed with their offensive line and just how good they are. You can play Daniel Jones. He's a gamer. Even against the Steelers' defense is overrated. I think we've come to that conclusion. They're good, but they're not great. So there's certainly opportunity for the Colts to do a lot fantasy related offensively. So you could play Daniel Jones. You can stack him with Pittman or Warren or both if you want to be different. And maybe this is a week where Jonathan Taylor doesn't go off. That's a gamble you can take and still like the Colts. The number's high enough to do that. On the Steelers side, I mean, Rodgers just competes and he keeps making plays. You can't take anything away from what he's been doing. Vegas says the Steelers will score 22. So if they're going to score 22 points, someone's going to do something. Probably won't be Warren on the ground. So I guess, Rodgers and Metcalf stack is certainly different this week. And I think it's got some potential. But honestly, I love the Colts side this week. And I really do think that number's too high, at least personally, at 48.5. I see this more as a, 24-17 kind of game. But having said that, I've said that before about Steelers games and they've surprised me. So, but looking at it overall, I love the Colts side in this game on Sunday. Denver at Houston, the final noon game of the week. And it's your team taking on the Texans this week.
Yeah, I don't like this spot for Denver at all, if I'm being frank. They lose their best cover guy off back-to-back emotional wins at home. And now you catch Houston off a huge win last week. They were downright dominant against a good San Francisco team. So Denver's the 1.5 favorite. The over-under super low, 39.5. This is not a game in fantasy that I want any part of except for one player, and I'll get to him. I'll start with the Denver side. Bo Nix has been great, especially the last couple of weeks. Huge numbers in the last 5 quarters. Different vibe in Houston on the road. I would really temper expectations on Bo Nix. If you get to 2 touchdowns here with him, I'd be thrilled. J.K. Dobbins, don't be fooled. Listen, R.J. Harvey is the future in the backfield, and the 3 touchdowns were great, but I wouldn't be chasing box scores. Dobbins went 15 for 111 on the ground. He's still getting the 65 to 70% of the snaps. J.K. Dobbins is still the guy I want. R.J. Harvey has the bigger ceiling. If you're looking for a crazy cheap option in weekly fantasy, that's fine. Dobbins is still the guy you want to start in season long, in my opinion. Cortland Sutton, we talked about. We talked about Troy Franklin at receiver, now the rising star. But again, I think all Broncos, I think they're going to have a hard time scoring this week. Keep that in mind. On the Houston side, C.J. Stroud comes off a 300-yard-plus game with a couple of touchdowns. He looked great against San Francisco. You want no part of the backfield. Woody Marks, Nick Chubb, avoid. The one guy you're starting this week is Nico Collins. When that injury report came out early in the week that Surtain was out for Denver, and this guy's coming off a concussion with fresh legs, Nico Collins is the one guy I am all in on this week when I play my daily fantasy. Dalton Schultz is a dart throw tight end. I've got Houston 23, Denver 16 in a very low-scoring game. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic Home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz.
Aquarius Home Services takes water treatment to an all-star level with the Connecticut water treatment system. And now get up to 25% off with 6-month no payments and no interest financing for qualified buyers. It's a great deal for worry-free water for drinking, worry-free water for cleaning, laundry, showers, dishes, and more. And all of this with on-demand efficiency that uses zero electricity. Trust me, it is life-changing. Find out more at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended. 10K Construction is your one-stop for all your general contracting needs, whether interior, exterior, residential, commercial, or multifamily properties. They build relationships with their clients, and that's how they've grown their business through referrals. Plus, they are teaming up with LP SmartSide to become Minnesota's premier siding installer. And they're also partnering with IKO Shingles as well. They've got the best of the best to do the job right. 10K Construction covers both Minnesota and Wisconsin. Now, the rumor is they charge a little extra because it's Packer land. I'm not sure about that. But what I am sure about, 10K Construction is the company you want handling all of your general contracting needs. Go to 10kconstruction.com for details.
Hey, Rosie here for Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than my good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they have got you covered with 2 great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to LexusofWayzata.com or LexusofMaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
All right. Very good. Let's move on. Jacksonville, Vegas, 3:05 start on Sunday. The number's 43.5. Jacksonville, 3.5-point favorites. Both teams are coming off the bye. The number's not very high, as I just told you, but there are some pieces in this game. On the Jags side, Travis Etienne versus the Raiders' run defense. Yeah, I can buy that. I will play that. That makes some sense to me. Still waiting for the Lawrence Thomas combination to get a monster game. This could be the week. Again, coming off a bye, the coaches usually with a lot more time to game plan might figure out a way for that combination to do something against the Raiders defense that, quite honestly, is just not very good. But this game feels ugly to me. I'm thinking it's more of a 20-14 kind of game. So as I think about that, there's really not any pieces that I love at all. Not on the Jags side, and definitely not on the Raiders side. Jacksonville's defense is pretty good, and they're really good at takeaways. And they're playing Geno Smith, and that's a takeaway turnover machine, right? So
Yes.
I really don't like anybody in this game. I'm interested if Brock Bowers plays, but even when he's played this year, he's not been very good, or at least not been a Brock Bowers type performance. You can say funnel offense with the Raiders and play Genty. Sure, I can see that. But there's with all the other really good games on the slate, on the main slate that have big numbers, it's like your game, Kevin. There's just the Denver-Houston game. Skip it. There's just not anything here. And there's really not anything sneaky, I think, that you can play that will help you this week in daily. Obviously, in season long, if you've got these guys and you don't have better options, you got to play them. But I think this number and this game is just not one that I have a lot of interest in. Let's go to New Orleans and the LA Rams, and Puka is back.
Puka is back, and the Saints are just going the wrong direction. They put up 3 points at home against Tampa last week. Devastating game for fantasy if you had any Saints. So we're going to be real brief on their side. The over-under here's 44.5. The Rams are 13.5-point favorites. This has blowout written all over it. You're not touching many Saints. The one guy I can start with confidence, and I will, I've got a couple shares of him, is receiver Chris Olave. He has been consistent. He has put up around 15 to 20 points every single week. Olave is fine. The dart throw, we've talked about it, is Rashid Shaheed. He went 9 for 75 last week. He's the big play guy, but again, against a Rams defense on the road, I'm not looking to use him. Juwan Johnson's a tight end. He's a guy. He's a dart throw. He's not somebody I love starting, but if you're in desperation mode, okay, fine. On the Rams side, just stick with the hits, man. There's 4 of them, and you're just going to stick with them. Stafford, awesome at QB. Kyron Williams, touchdown machine at running back. Great 1-2 punch with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Don't get cute. Don't go anywhere else. Focus on the big 4. It's a 31-10 game. The Rams are going to win. Second half, they're going to take the air right out of the football. It's going to be boring, but the Rams do have players that are going to put up points for you. Avoid most of the Saints. It's an ugly game.
Yeah, I drank the Kool-Aid last week, as you know, going all in on those 2 big running backs. Taylor was great. Rashid Shaheen was actually very good. But man, that combination of Rattler and everything else, and the Falcons defense just completely imploding, did not do me any favors last week. Last game in the 3:00 slate is Kansas City at Buffalo. Like this game, 51.5. KC's a slight favorite in Buffalo, which is interesting to me. Love it on the main slate. Love it, love it, love it. Lots of juicy options. Of course, Kansas City beat up Washington on Monday night, 28-7 after a slow start in that game. So on the Chiefs side, Mahomes, Rice, Kelsey, stack them, play them. Buffalo's defense is nothing special. And you know the game's going to be a shootout. This has shootout written all over it. In fact, I think 51.5 is too low. So I like all the pieces over there. And sometimes, Kevin, in games like this where the Chiefs are in a shootout mode with another team, maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I am, but there always seems to be some guy on the Chiefs side that you don't expect that has a big game, right? Like
they've got so many weapons. I mean, you're right. It could be Thornton.
Noah
Gray. It could
Gray,
be Worthy. It could be
Rashard
Hollywood Brown.
Smith.
No, they've got like 19 guys that catch the football.
And this game feels like that. Like, you could say, I'm going to stack Rice. And I want to do that. And I probably will. But in the back of my mind, I'm hearing, you know what? He's going to throw it to somebody you don't expect, because that's just what he does. So anyway, I love the Chiefs side. Love the Bills side too. Even though Josh Allen is only averaging about 20 fantasy points per game, he's not having the breakout year, but he's still getting a lot of stuff done. He had a nice game, of course, last week with a couple of rushing touchdowns. James Cook is phenomenal. He's just crushing it. But Kansas City's defense is pretty good. So I kind of temper that a little bit. And the other thing about Cook is 0 targets the last 2 games. He's only only 1 target in the last 3 games. So you're not getting anything out of the passing side of him as a running back. And that worries me a little bit if Kansas City's rush defense does a good job against them. I think Buffalo's going to have to put it up. If they do, Shakir, to me is the guy. They don't have the sneaky pieces that KC does. They don't have the depth that KC does at the receiver position. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to find who you'd want to stack with Josh Allen. But my gosh, that number is just so high. It's just so tempting. And I think you need to get a couple of pieces of this game. It's the last game on the main slate. And if you set your lineups up for daily and you maybe stack this game a little bit more, hoping that if you get to 3:00 and you're in the mix and these guys go off, you have a chance to make some ground up on a lot of players ahead of you. I think this game has that potential. So fire up both sides. I think the play is over 51, and I think there's a number of great choices in this game to play. Seattle and Washington. Wow. The Sunday night game at 7:20. What do you think?
I think it's a good game. I think it's going to have enough fantasy relevance for everybody to pay attention.
Is Jaden playing?
It looks like it's trending that way. Okay. Yes. Jaden Daniels likely returns. It's getting late early for Washington. This is a team that had that magical year last year. They had 5 losses all year last year. They've already got 5 losses this year. 45.5 is the total. Seattle's a 3.5-point favorite, which I think is a little high. I think this is a good spot for Washington to bounce back. Sam Darnold, though, must start at quarterback. He's been consistently good. He's got one of the best receivers in football, so start him with confidence. We've talked about the backfield split. It's frustrating. Walker and Charbonnet are both decent running backs, but they seem to cancel each other out. It's hard to know when either one's going to get the touchdown scores, so I'm not looking towards them as great starts. Jackson Smith-Njigba is amazing. He's consistent. Every team knows they've got to shut him down. Haven't seen a team do it yet this year. Count on 100 yards, count on 8-10 receptions, and likely a touchdown or 2. He's a stud. Cooper Kupp to me is the X factor. You know, he's got the potential. Not a guy I look to start. He's a question mark for me. Dart throw if you're desperate, but focus on Darnold and Jackson Smith-Njigba, and you'll be just fine. In a game that figures to be decent as far as points go, Jaden Daniels should return. That's good news. His receivers are banged up, though. Deebo Samuel does not look right.
Not the same, yeah.
No, and McLaurin left the game. Like, he was popping early, and if you watched that game, he left early at Kansas City, so that makes me a little bit nervous. We'll have to monitor that for our Friday update. And I want Bill Krosky-Merritt, the running back, to be a thing, but they don't use him enough. They're using too much of McNichols. I can't start my guy. I've got multiple shares of Jackson Crockett Merritt, and he just isn't. Yeah, but you know being used enough.
This could be that week, though. You know, this bites me in the ass every time.
I know.
I think like you, and it's the right way to think. Oh man, he's not getting the volume. I'm going to play somebody else, and then he goes off. You know,
I get it, and he's got. I see the talent, you know, and I love the kid, but for me, it's going to be. If you're desperate, go ahead. I forgot about Zach Ertz. He's still a guy, especially in the red zone they use. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I like the over. Really? I've got Seattle 31, Washington 30. I think there's going to be points. I like the over a lot in that game, actually.
Wow. All right. Last game of the week is Monday night, 7:15. Arizona at Dallas. Crazy high number at 52.5. Cowboys are a 2.5-point favorites. Wish this was on the main slate because that's super juicy. The Cardinals are coming off a bye. The Arizona coach said yesterday it's a little too early to figure out whether Kyler Murray can play or not. I hope he doesn't. Jacoby Brissett is just play Brissett. Trey McBride is back, which is great. Play Marvin Harrison. You can play the running back Knight. There's a lot of pieces, and it's the Dallas defense, right? So there's a lot of pieces
that keeps on giving.
That's right. There's a lot of pieces on the Arizona side, which I think make it very interesting. I'm not sold that Arizona is that good offensively, but with that number being what it is, and Vegas thinking it's going to be a high-scoring game, I think you have to kind of find your pieces in this one. And the fact that it's a Monday night game means you're probably playing it in daily as just a game on itself, right? And so you can kind of really super mix and match what you like for the one game slate. On the Cowboys side, start Pickens. Doesn't matter that Lamb is back. George Pickens has been phenomenal. He's a monster out there. Dallas has to win this game. They've got to score 40 to win because their defense cannot stop anybody.
I know.
So in fantasy purposes, this is a great team and players to have because you know they're not going to win 7-6. It's just not going to be like that. So they've got to score points. And so Lamb, Pickens, Dak, I know Ferguson got shut out last week, which is a national tight ends day is bizarre, but play him. Javonte Williams. I mean, there's a ton of Dallas Cowboys to play. If you have them in season long, even on the Cardinal side, if you have Cardinal play them, because the Vegas is telling us, Vegas is screaming at us, this is going to be a high-scoring football game on Monday night. All right, let's talk about our PPR lineups for this week. And I'll start. Sorry, Viking fans. I love the Lions this week. And you're going to see that throughout my decision-making here. I love Goff at quarterback. There's other great choices this week. I just think Detroit's going to send a clear message to the Vikings that your season is done. So I like Goff this week. I love Josh Jacobs. I love Jonathan Taylor. Those are my two backs. I love Pickens. I love that game. I love Dallas. Rashee Rice, I think, is going to have in a shootout game with Buffalo. To me, he's the guy to play. Tucker, Kraft, and Jacobs together. I'm all in on Green Bay this week against Carolina at home. And then I love St. Brown. So I would stack Goff and St. Brown as my flex. I would stack those guys together. So Goff, Jacobs, Taylor, Pickens, Rice, Kraft, and Amon St. Brown.
Yeah, my best PPR lineup starts with Drake May. For me, he's been one of the great stories in the league and in fantasy. He's been consistently good. They throw the football in the red zone. They've got running backs that tend to fumble, so they trust him where it counts. So I love him in PPR. I used a couple of backs that I'm in love with. Achan in Miami. You talked about it. The volume is ridiculous.
Yep.
He finds a way to 4, 5, 6 receptions a week, along with the yardage he gets on the ground and the touchdowns. He is scoring for that team. He's their best offensive weapon. Javonte Williams is a guy that nobody talks about, but he just keeps on producing against a really good Denver defense in a game where Dallas struggled to move the ball. There he is with 2 more touchdowns. This kid's a stud. He's having a breakout year, and no one's talking about
He's
Williams.
having a Pro Bowl season.
Yep, and he'll do it against Arizona. I'm confident of that. My wide receivers, I'm with you. The Vikings are in trouble, so the Sun God, St. Brown, obvious. Jackson Smith and Jigba, obvious. Tight end, I don't think the Kraft thing was anything but another step along the way of this guy maybe being the best tight end in pro football. This guy is a stud, big plays, touchdowns. He does it all. And at flex, the number 1 running back, the number 1 scorer in all of fantasy, Jonathan Taylor. That's my best PPR grouping.
All right. Let's go to our daily fantasy lineup for this week. FanDuel pricing is what we're using. And I'll start. I'm going to play Daniel Jones naked. I love the Indy matchup this week at Pittsburgh. It's supposed to be a high-scoring game. I love Swift and Montgomery. Those are my 2 backs. Not as expensive, but I like Detroit. And I agree with you when you mentioned Montgomery. I think, yes, Gibbs gets all the action, but I think they're going to get inside the 5-yard line a couple of times on the Vikings. And I can see Montgomery powering his way to a couple of touchdowns this week. And I love the Swift against Cincinnati matchup. Receiver wise, I overspent maybe a little bit, but Rashee Rice at 8,200, Odunze at 8,000 are my 2 big receivers. My other is Shakir, only because I want a piece of that Buffalo KC game. So I'm bringing it back against Rice. Laporta's my tight end, so I'm stacking Montgomery and Laporta. I really tried hard to find a way to get Goff in there, and I could fit Goff in there if I wanted to, but I went with Daniel Jones just to get a piece of that Indy game. Chase Brown is my flex because I think that game is going to go back and forth, and Chase had such a great game last week. Saved my butt in a couple of different season-long where I needed a win, and I've been starting him all year, and I've been blaming you this entire season for Chase Brown. It hasn't been
his fault, man.
Yeah, I'm blaming you, and he had a big week. So I'm going to go with Chase Brown. He's at 7,200, and I'm going to play the Jacksonville defense this week. I just think they're not overly expensive, and they're playing Las Vegas in Vegas, and I love the turnover ratio that they have. So my daily lineup is Daniel Jones at 7,900, Swift at 6,900, Montgomery at 6,100, Shakir at 6,100, Odunze at 8,000, Rice at 8,200. And by the way, Caleb Williams has been underperforming. I'm hoping this is the week where that he goes off. Laporta at 5,500 at tight end, Chase Brown at 7,200, and the Jacksonville defense at 4,100.
I love your lineup. In fact, we're going to see some duplications. And as we always talk about, Randy and I do not share with each other before we get to the show what we're doing.
I don't like Kevin. I don't share.
I love Randy, but I still want to do my own thing. All right, my main slate on FanDuel looks like this. I'm going to start with the guy we just talked about. I'm all in. And I haven't done this in a long time. And the last time we did it, he threw 4 for me. So come on, Caleb, make me look smart one more time. 7,300. Cincinnati's defense, like Dallas, is so they just got beat by the Jets at home and made Justin Fields a relevant quarterback. So please, to God, Caleb, don't let me down. I'll get to my stack with him in a second, because I spent some money like Josh Jacobs at running back at 9,400, who I love. Yep. I love Josh Jacobs this week. He might be the top scoring back, in my opinion. I had to go cheap, and I've got a sneaky take on Pacheco, and I'm not a guy I love in season long, but he has had big games against Buffalo, including multiple touchdowns in playoff
Isn't he
games.
Banged up?
Yeah, he left the game, but then they checked him out. It was so cool. I was watching. I'm like, please get back up. And he got back up and he was laughing. He grabbed his helmet. He's fine. Pacheco, 6,200 is cheap, and he's sneaky in that game. Now I'm going to stack Rome Odunze, my wide receiver, with my big quarterback playing Caleb. Odunze is 8,000. I've got Khalil Shakir. Like you, I want a piece of that Buffalo offense, and Shakir is without a doubt Josh Allen's favorite target. Love Shakir this week. I think Buffalo's going to be in chase mode in that football game. I went back to the dike. I went back to my guy. I went back to my Tennessee guy at 5,300. He was good last week. Nearly 16 points in fantasy. I love my dike.
You must be playing a flex guy that's way too expensive.
I'll get there. My tight end, like you, is Sam Laporta. I think Laporta is sitting on a big game. I'm talking maybe multiple touchdowns for Sammy. My defense is Houston against Denver. I think this is a really good spot for the Texans.
Wow.
And my flex guy is an expensive guy. I think he's on multiple touchdowns. It's Kyren Williams, $8,000 for the Rams. So I go Caleb, Jacobs, Pacheco, Odunze, the Dike, Shakir, Laporta, Kyren, and the Houston D. Let's both cash.
Oh, sounds good. All right. Before we go, your thoughts on the Wild, because I can't let you go without just a quick chat. Kevin,
deep breath.
Take a deep breath.
I keep telling myself, Randy, it's October, but there's a saying in the National Hockey League. You can't make the playoffs in October, but you can miss them. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm very worried that the Wild, if they continue to find ways to lose games, which they have early in the year, that they're going to put themselves too far back. The Western Conference in the NHL is loaded, and there just isn't that much room for error. The good news is they've got 4 more games on this homestand. They've got 9 of their next 11 at home. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm being honest, it's getting late early. They've got to start winning some of these hockey games. And so we're recording this on a Tuesday. It's a game day. Winnipeg's tough. The Wild are an underdog tonight at home. I'm concerned. They've got to be better defensively, and they've got to get better goaltending. I think they'll be okay, but I am right now mildly concerned.
All right. Kevin, as always, I appreciate it. This has been Fantasy Huddle, presented by Aquarius Home Services, along with 10K Construction, Minnesota Masonic Charities, and Lexus of Maplewood and Wayzata. Good luck this week in your fantasy football, and we'll be back next week. Thanks, Kev.
Thanks, Randy.